worry of the minister is the sales of alcohol. Well, Abuja is a secular federal capital territory of a secular country. There is nothing the minister of Abuja can do about it.
Do you actually think this should be like a gag on sales of liquor?
That's what I see in the whole thing. And I don't. You see, they keep playing to the gallery. You leave the problem you will have to solve, and you are pursuing shadow.
So we'll begin today's conversation taking our quote from Melanie Cherlin, an author. She once said, "Sometimes the most productive thing that you can do is to step outside and do nothing. Relax and enjoy nature." All right, our second quote is from John Goodman, an American and actor. He once said, "Relax, just relax and have fun. Doing what you are doing. Don't worry so much about being result-oriented. Just commit yourself to the moment." I like this one. All right, our next quote is from Richard Eyimofe Evans Mofe Damejo, popularly known as RMD. He is a Nigerian actor, writer, producer, lawyer, and former journalist. He was also a former commissioner for culture and tourism in Delta State in 2009. He once said, "Relax, trust the process. It's easier than you think. Smiling through it all is all the mask you need to complete the journey." Wow. All right, our last quote is from Pope Francis, the head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City State since 2013. He once said, "Together with a culture of work, there must be a culture of leisure as gratification. To put it another way, people who work must take their time to relax, to be with their families, to enjoy themselves, read, listen to music, play a sport." All right, now let's see how all of this quote relates to what we'll be discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation. We are reaching you from Captain's Television Studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Of course, my name is Annabelle Oji. Now, to relax means to calm your body and mind and to relieve yourself from the panic and anxiety. Relaxing is actually good for your mind. It makes you feel calm and at peace. Our body also needs rest, and it is important to identify the signs that the body shows when it is overworked. There are immeasurable ways to relax. Some ways are designed to relax your mind and some to relax your body. However, since the mind and the body are connected, several relaxation methods work on the mind and therefore the body as well. Now, in the words of Kailash Kaur, she once said that don't take things too seriously and just chill. Like they say in the Nigerian language, problem no dey finish. Try to enjoy your life. All right, now that said, on the other news, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, that's Fcta, have said that all recreational parks in the territory must close operations at 7 p.m. daily, in line with the policy of the administration. The Senior Special Assistant on Monitoring, Inspection and Enforcement to the Minister of the FCT, that's Ikaru Atta, told the journalists that the enforcement would bring about conformity to the policy which is concerned with sanity. Atta said that the park policy is very clear and that the coordinator of Abuja Metropolitan Management Council with the director of Parks and Recreation has clarified the issue. He further stated that parks that refuse to close from the stipulated time will be sanctioned, as team will be going around to ensure that parks comply with the policy. The coordinator of Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, that's AMMC, Umar Shuaibu, have recently announced the decision ordering park operators to open at 8 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Shuaibu said the exercise will enable the administration to have data on parks and checkmate their activities, especially the ones that violate the laws. So, I'm wondering how the Abuja night crawlers and are actually chewing and digesting this policy. What are the gains, the losses, as well as the hardship that this policy might create in the short and in the long run? My guests on the show today are Dr. Mefor. He is a media consultant, and we also have Uchenna Ibeto, who is a park operator. She also runs a wine bar in a park. So we'll be getting to hear from them shortly after this break. Join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you're right on time for the interview. Our first guest on the show today is Dr. Mefor. He is a media consultant. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Always a pleasure hosting you.
Yeah.
All right, so our second guest is Uchenna Ibeto. She is a wine bar or a park operator. You're welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll start with you first. Now, the policy of early closure has started, where the Fcta or the AMMC asked parks to close by 7 a.m. and then some people are saying it has to be 7 p.m. rather, it has to be 10 p.m. Now, all parks and gardens must close or risk being harassed by government monitoring team. So how has it been for your kind of business, and how are you coping or dealing with that policy?
Thank you, Annabelle. Actually, it will not be easy for us because this business is mainly in the night. So starting a business by 6 and close by 7 cannot really work out for us. One, if you are in Abuja or anywhere in Nigeria, you know, or even in the world, you know, park and gardens are meant for evening sit-downs. Now coming to close by 7, I don't think you think about it. It is not going to be easy for anybody because, one, this business, as I said earlier, it starts sometimes by 7 or even by 6. Because so many people who comes to patronize us go to work or go to market or go to businesses. After closure, they come and they close by 6, 7. Coming to park or coming to relax where you're doing the business or wine bar is from 7, 8, 9. Do you understand? So who and how can you run the business you're starting by 6 or 7 to close by 7 p.m.? It is not going to be easy for us. It is not really going to be easy.
So was there any, were you all told about this? Were there any kind of pre-information before now?
No, we only had on TV, read news. I even read mine on news. I was like, wow, what is this? No pre-information, no notice of any kind.
All right, so we'll come back to you now. Dr. Law, now we understand that the Federal Capital Territory Park was signed into law that's in 2005 as a bylaw that would regulate how parks and recreation centers operate in the territory. And this policy categorize parks into neighborhood, district, cities, and regional parks, with their various designation. But then, however, the attempt by the FCT at that time to gag or to stop parks or to implement that policy since it became law have continued to meet resistance from park operators, like she has stated, and then it has been like that. So do you actually think that that policy would actually would not meet any resistance, and then at this time bringing such policy into making it become a law? Do you think it would ever be possible?
Well, you know, laws are meant for people, for citizens, and not citizens for the law. Any law that you make and the law does not solve a social problem, that law in itself is obnoxious, unnecessary, unwarranted. And yes, regulating the parks, very important. But the way and manner you go about it
Okay.
is another thing. In my stay, during my stay in the National Assembly, I learned a lot about how laws are made. The inputs the National Assembly seek from the citizens so that they'll be able to jointly understand the purpose of the law and how best to bring about such a law to make it a solution to an existing problem. There's what you call public hearing and so on and so forth. And we expect that the Federal Capital Territory, being an extension of the presidency as a matter of fact, because the Minister of Abuja is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In other words, whatever you have as a law here in the Federal Capital Territory has to emanate from the National Assembly. What that means is that...
I tried to get something you just said. You said
yes.
The Minister of Abuja is
the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That's the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory.
Oh.
But the problem is that because he cannot really run the office effectively, given the enormity of his own responsibilities, he often appoints somebody, as a minister, to oversee the Federal Capital Territory on his behalf.
Okay.
So essentially, the president is the one in charge of the Federal Capital Territory. That's what the Constitution says, and that is what it is exactly.
I'm sure a lot of people don't know this part.
Yeah, but we have to educate them. Abuja is still not a mayoralty, and therefore does not have an independent government of their own. That is why the National Assembly still makes their laws, still passes their budgets and everything. So the law you made reference to, promulgated in 2005, I'm not aware of how that law was made. If it's an edict passed by the Federal Capital Territory on their own without recourse to National Assembly, I don't know how that would go, how far it can go. And if indeed it passed through the National Assembly and the beneficiaries of the bill, those who would actually be the ones to operate the bill, in a sense, the park and recreational owners ought to have made very serious representation in the National Assembly. But you see, what happens, I haven't read the law you made reference to, but I know what happens in a circumstance like that. There are certain omnibus clauses that can give the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory to provide some operational guidelines deriving his authority from the express provisions of such extant laws. I guess that is what has happened here. And when the minister wants to provide an operational guideline, which is purely administrative, it doesn't carry full weight of the law if it goes against the kernel, the fundamental objective and philosophy, what you call the letter of the law. If he is not deriving his authority from that, the park owners have every right to challenge it. Okay. And that is what I expect them to do. Coming to what is at stake at the moment, from what the lady Ibeto said here, you can see that parks and recreations, essentially services the citizens in the evening. The people try to unwind after work. Bachelors even eat there before going home.
And like she said, it starts by 6 o'clock.
Yes. And because of the way Abuja is formulated, certain places during the peak hour, when the workers are going back to work, going back home from work, is so hectic. Places like Kubwa, Nyanya, and so on and so forth. People tend to hang around in the gardens to enable traffic to thin down before they start going. So you can see obviously the services rendered. And what I see, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory has been there for 7 years, and 7 months to his exit, assuming the president keeps him till his own terminal, his own terminus, which will come May 29, 2023. If he keeps him till then, we expect that he ought to have come up with things like this, because there is time, there is time to really, you need to engage these people. You don't just hand down laws. Do you understand that? And especially laws or regulations cannot work and cannot be obeyed. It's a matter of time, it will break down. So you discover that any law or regulation that cannot be obeyed should not even be contemplated in the first place. I see this as a subtle way of closing the gardens. That is all I say. Subtle ways, because when you give a window of 1 hour for a service that should last for average of 6 hours, you are saying that it shouldn't really operate at all. That is what I see in the whole arrangement. And I think it's really wrong, because they serve, they serve the society. If they think the parks have become dens of thieves and criminals, for God's sake, is it when you close it down that the place will not be guided? I think that the parks operating even makes those places really livable, and somebody can be held accountable for what is going on in places like that. If you shut down the parks, the criminals will indeed make the places their abode. And how many policemen would you dispatch to cover all the places in Abuja? And finally, let me just add this also. I think that the idea that the parks will have to run for just 1 hour is obnoxious, it's inhuman, it shouldn't be contemplated.
Is that even possible? It's
not possible, it's not necessary also. Okay. You see, yes, it's not necessary. You don't kill a societal malaise, a social problem, by imposing something worse. And again, I believe that it's not also a security measure. It's a poor security strategy. There's what you call string operations in security cycles. If you know that the criminals gather in the parks, is it not, an avenue for you as security operatives to since they have been brought together for you somewhere you can really track them, why can't you utilize the opportunity positively and infiltrate the place and catch them in the act? See them where in a relaxed atmosphere where they are participating in social activities. That gives you opportunity to come face to face with these criminals, assuming that policy is supposed to be a security measure.
Okay, but then they actually also said that it's a way of stopping noise pollution from the neighboring places, because like some of these parks, according to them, you have houses, residential houses around them, so it creates a lot of noise.
I agree. You see, noise pollution can be controlled in several ways, right? You need to understand the pollutants. Is it music? If it is loud music, you stop loud music. And it has to be based, it cannot be an omnibus, closure. There should be parks that are really in the heart of residential areas. You watch out those parks and you react based on petitions written by those residents. That's what happens in civilized world. You don't just take the course of a problem you have in a particular place and use it to wipe out everything that has to do with parks and recreations in Abuja. Are the people complaining? If they are complaining, confront the operators with the petitions. Is it what a place like EFCC does? They complain about you, they call you in, confront you with the petition. The police does the same. So, if the residents are complaining, we want to know whether the complaint is across board. Every park in Abuja is being complained about. We want to see how it's not possible. Okay. There are parks that are quite removed, and the pollutants, if it's noise pollution. I gave an example of music. You can put a seal to it. They don't want loud music here. People play jazz and blues and sentimental, low key and beautiful rendition that the neighborhood can understand, can appreciate. I will not support that a garden should play loud music in a neighborhood where people want to sleep and stuff like that, turning it into a nightclub. Okay. A nightclub should not be tolerated in a garden arrangement. So the regulation should deal with such a problem and not close the places down.
Okay.
That's the point I'm making.
I think you wanted to make a statement about, do you have anything to say with regards to where he talked about customers, if the customers are not complaining, so why should the federal government
Not the customers, the neighborhood.
The neighborhood, rather.
Not the customers.
The
not
neighborhood,
customers.
I
He
mean.
actually had really made a serious point that I had in mind. You see, this policy that this federal government is bringing, they should consider the masses. We voted them in. And these masses, they are really, if they do this, they are really going to, do you know how many people they are going to lay off from work? Do you understand? These gardens employ people that works there. They employ people that cook, they employ people that, prepare suya and all that. Then you say, from 6 to 7, you go home. And you say you want to regulate the society, there's insecurity. If you don't know how to go about it, you say it. If you know how to go about it, is not recreation, it's not garden. That is the problem of insecurity in Nigeria. Do you understand? As a government, know how to tackle about what is facing you. Leave what is not really chasing you. You are chasing what is not really chasing you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, the garden you are closing, are you thinking, you people sit down to think about how many people you are going to, Nigerians are crying about hunger, about things are not, people can't even feed themselves. And you are coming to lay people off from their work.
Especially those people that make fish, those that sell indomie
Thank
and
you,
all.
and all that. And you say, go home. From that 7, most of them will go into prostitution. Most of them will now be the robbers here chasing. Most of them will join so many bad gangs that you now, I want to close because of insecurity, and now creating more problem for the society. I don't know if you understand. Why these workers, these people that are working for us, or these people that are doing this work and earning at least little money to take care of their families, and you say, go home, and they will go home and sit from 7 to the next day. I mean, you think about it. This government should help the masses. We are all crying. Do you understand? This government should know that the masses are crying. And you want to create more, I don't know, more beating, or will I say, I don't know how to put it. It does not really make sense.
Okay, so now what are the expected impact or the gains or the losses of this policy on your kind of business, especially with regards to sales, turnover, and revenue? How much will it affect?
That's what I'm actually trying to tell you. The thing will affect, do you know how many gardens in Abuja? So many gardens are here in this town. So many bars are here in this town. And you want to close all of them. You start counting. From Nyanya to Use to Maitama to Gwarimpa to, you don't understand what I'm saying. How many gardens, how many bars that you are going to close? He automatically, as that doctor said, automatically trying to close down the gardens and automatically making us not to have work and not to have something to do. And people working for us will be, they will be, I don't know. I'm thinking, I'm imagining, because it will affect so many people.
But isn't it possible to, if we have to adjust, okay, let's say the federal government has said everybody should adjust. So even if we have to say, okay, let's adjust, is it possible to start the business earlier, like the federal government has said, and then end at that 7 o'clock?
Annabelle, you are working here now, share you in your office. Will you leave your office to go to garden to eat fish at this time? Will you leave your office to go to garden to sit down and drink by this time? No. Oga said it all. It is when you finish from your work. You want to this hold up is too much. Let me just drive into this place and cool. Please give me a bottle of wine or give me a bottle of water. Why gisting and looking at, watching television or whatever. By 10, 9, 8, 10, let me just drive up. By then, the road will be cleared. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is not possible. Who will patronize you by morning or by afternoon? When you are in your work, will you leave your work to go to garden to sit down? No. The answer is no. The answer is pure no. It is not possible. The business is purely in the evening. And everybody knows about it. So there's no two ways about it. You just want to close down the garden, which is not adjusting from maybe 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. to 7. Who comes there? Who patronizes who? Nobody. You can't leave your marketplace or your business place or your office place to come and sit in a garden. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, so let me ask you. For you to own or operate a park or a garden,
Okay,
or a recreation center, or whatever, even a space where people can come in to chill and relax. Do you actually need government approval? Is it documented?
Yes, one, they give us license, liquor license, which we renew every year. We pay every year, every blessed year you pay liquor license they give you. Do you understand? You must pay. There's a license for it. You don't just start. You don't just start a local business without a license, especially in Abuja.
Okay, Dr. Mefor, let's come back to you now. She talked about now that you have so many recreation centers and parks, because we know that this policy, some people actually remind you that it started during the former president Olusegun Obasanjo when he was in administration, and then where you had Malam Nasir El-Rufai, where he was also the FCT minister. And then they tried to bring up this policy, but then it met a lot of resistance. And at that time, you had probably less or over 20 parks in Abuja. But right now you have over 100 parks in Abuja. So let me borrow your word. How viable or how feasible is this?
Yeah, like I said before, I see the policy as unnecessary.
Certainly.
I think it's like killing a fly with a sledgehammer. And what you do is to check the abuses of those parks. Yes, I agree that the purpose clause of the parks, are being abused in some instances. But you cannot take because of such abuses and then close down every park, or put a policy of 1 hour window of operation, which will never suffice. In other words, you are laying landmines. You are creating a latitude for very serious confusion and conflict. Yeah, because the people that will be laid off, directly or indirectly, will have to fight back. If not directly, they have to do that indirectly. So many segments of the Abuja society are attached to park, operations. I talked about workers. It goes beyond there. There are businesses that depend on the parks. Take, for instance, the youths that are into Uber and Bolt business. In the night, in the night, is these same workers they take home, right? What that means is that you are now shortening, even for the transportation business, you're now actually, creating a problem in the chain, in the economic chain. Government should be mindful of such policies that will torpedo employment.
And I just remember some of these parks, they host programs where you have entertainment programs.
That's what I'm saying.
Night.
That's what I'm saying. So many things are attached. So many things are attached to this park and recreation service. What must be done is to check the abuses and not to create a 1 hour window that will not suffice. That's a fact. And yes, viability, the policy is not viable. What is viable is finding its solution to modify the operation in such a way as to make it more effective. Even the worry of the minister is the sales of alcohol. Well, Abuja is a secular federal capital territory of a secular country. There is nothing the minister of Abuja can do about
do you actually think this should be like a gag on sales of liquor?
That's what I see in the whole thing. And I don't. You see, they keep playing to the gallery. You leave the problem you will have to solve, and you are pursuing shadow. Sales of alcohol in gardens. If you close it up in the gardens, how about the hotels? There's something
the lounges, the clubs.
How about the lounges? How about the nightclubs and stuff? So you face your life. You are a secular minister. I'm not a minister to enforce any religious obligations or feelings and stuff. It has nothing to do with his job, as a matter of fact. What he has to ensure is that the gardens are not abused. The purpose clause is clear. Let the operators of the gardens and recreational facilities stick to the original purpose clause of the place. Once that is done, you have done your job as a minister. In fact, in organized crimes, government can even get the citizens to dig up ground, pay them, get another another set of citizens that are also unemployed to cover the same holes, you know, and get paid for doing so. You would think that government is being stupid doing that. No, government is trying to engage the people, because if you do not find something for them to do to be able to earn a little income legitimately, they will earn it illegitimately. That's the point Lady Ibeto was making. If you think that you have solved one problem by, you know, closing down the parks, because that is what I see that will be the ultimate result of this policy, you are actually throwing thousands of people into the already saturated labor market. Once this happens, the same government will have to take the blow. You know, I say that if they believe that parks have become a habit of criminals, it means that the police and the rest are not doing their job. You should utilize those parks, since you know where those criminals gather, and infiltrate the place and get them there. You don't need to really begin to chase them to their houses anymore, since you know the cluster in the gardens. Do you understand that? In the gardens.
Okay.
You put things on them, and you get the result you want. In other words, even the gardens can be put to, you know, an effective security tool if they know how to really transform some of this into what they want to do. So I can only advise the government to, you know, restrain this kind of policy, because it will create bigger, you know, dislocation, social dislocation, than it, you know, hopes to really solve.
All right.
There is no behavior modification they will achieve by imposing this. Parks and recreations, even the way they are being you know, utilized at the moment, have become they have become very social gap closers. Because what government cannot do, they are trying to help
parks are
them
doing.
But it's the truth. You know, for example, the issue of look at the transportation system in Abuja. It's crazy. You can't go to Kubwa, you can't go to Gwagwarada, you can't go to Nyanya at certain hours. You know, coming to work, and you know, the peak hour, returning from work back to these places, is a hell. And the parks are holding that that space for you,
for them,
by finding a spot for them to hang out, to enable the traffic to thin down. Then they will be able to go home.
All right.
With that. And government wants to, you know, do away with all this. What problem do they really want to solve by, you know, throwing that part?
Okay,
let's create greater problem.
We actually do for a break, so let's go on a break, and when we return, we'll definitely expand this conversation. We'll see you shortly.
The Abuja Master Plan does not permit this kind of reckless building, and Abuja should not be compared to Lagos. You know why? You see, in 1976, when General Murtala Mohammed, you know, conceived Abuja, he was the president, the head of state that conceived Abuja. They were trying to run away from the problem of planlessness of Lagos. They wanted a virgin land where there would be space to really plan a city. So we cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of Lagos.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We are reaching you from Kaftan's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you missed quite a lot, but then you can still join in the conversation. Our guest on the show today is Dr. Mefor, a media consultant, and we also have Uchenna Ibeto, who is a wine barrel park operator. We've been talking about federal government, the Fcta's policy to stop park and recreational centers from operating from 7 p.m. in the evening. Now, before we went on that break, we were talking about how much this will affect other value chain, because you have some people that would say that I don't own a park, my business is not inside the park, my business is on the roadside, because these days we see them even growing every day. Like, you're passing the streets and then you see people selling cooking indomie, and then you see people that are selling food, and then people come out as late as 10 p.m. to come and buy food. So how much will this, aside affecting the park owners like you, how much will it also affect other people?
Yeah, Annabelle, it will affect every sector. One, people that are selling wine, you know, they won't be selling their wines anymore. The breweries who sell beers to all these gardens, you can imagine what will happen. All these suya people.
Even the suya people?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
All this Indomie. All these, sometimes this issue, food, you know, it will affect every area. It will affect even the economy itself in this Abuja. It will affect every sector because everything is going to be like, people who supplies drink will not be selling anymore. People who import wine, they won't be selling because these wines and these beers are being taken in these bars that are closing by 7 o'clock. I don't know if you understand. And so many people go, how many people goes to club? How many people can provide money to go to club to drink expensive wine?
So it's cheaper to just
yes.
sit out in the park?
Yes, to drink the wine. Okay. Because a bottle of wine you can buy like, for example, 20,000. If you go to club, you buy it 150,000. So they prefer coming to park or wine bar to chill and drink their wine or beer at a cheaper rate.
So some people have actually talked about how much this policy would help with regards to, like, some of these parks. They're always at waterways. You just find them where there's water passing through that place, and then they want to build a park, so they decide to push or channel the water to somewhere else, and then this will definitely create disasters later on. What are your thoughts on this? Don't you think that it could be a good reason also?
Annabelle, you know, doctor said this thing earlier on. You are the government. Most of these green areas, they converted to parks and to gardens. They didn't just get it. It was the same government who gave it to them. I don't know if you understand. If it is in a waterway, you come and regulate it yourself. You can tell these people, please, this place is bad. Mark it for demolition, or tell them and relocate them to another place. That particular issue or that particular place cannot affect all gardens in the whole city of Abuja. You are the same person who gave them this land. You allocated this. You can't just come and own a place in Abuja. No. Either you bought it or government gave it to you. This thing boils down that this government, you need to work. They need to work. They need to work. They should leave all these things. They are just chasing shadows. For me, they should work. They should stand up and work. Take their responsibility and don't, because of one finger and, cut the whole fingers or affect every other people that are earning from this whole thing now. Do you understand? If you know this place is not really okay, you gave it to them to run. You can still come and say, no, please, I am giving you another place. This place is not good. All right. You can do that.
All right. So, Dr. Lord, now looking at the Abuja master plan, were there any plans for this parks, or is it that they just actually sprung up arbitrarily to have parks? In fact, sometimes you just even walk up in a particular place and then there was no park, and then all of a sudden you just see a park. And then some people would say, after all, they are helping to curb unemployment and then help the SMEs, and then with regards to ease of doing business, they're helping them. So were there plans for all of this park, to embrace all of these parks on the master plan?
I think Abuja was conceived to be a modern city, one of the best in the world. When I wrote my first novel, Dream Abuja, that's the title, I had to study Abuja master plan, and it's a bastardization. I wanted to understand the master image of Abuja, how it was being defaced, and what could be done to recover it. That was what the plot of that novel was about. And so I think I understand what Abuja ought to be and what has gone wrong. Like every other thing handed over to us in Nigeria, Nigeria should be one of the few countries in the world with the best policies you can find. So we are never short of beautiful laws, beautiful policies. The problem has always been in implementation. And it's the same thing that has happened to Abuja. parks and recreations well provided for, open spaces.
Okay.
You know, Abuja is supposed to be built in a way as to really respect, spaces. There has to be space. The parks and recreations is for the neighborhoods, for children to have places to play
around.
And stuff like that. And successive governments have leased some of these open spaces out as parks for people to manage. One of the reasons for doing so is to really allow the parks to be inhabited, sort of, not for people to live there, but to be put to use so that reptiles and criminals do not convert those places to their own nefarious use. So if you look at, from what I have said, you can see that indeed government made a very elaborate provision in the Abuja Master Plan for parks and recreations. And it will be illegal to do away with them, because that will be defacing further Abuja Master image.
Okay.
This is very fundamental. What you need to do is to regulate. You just have to regulate. Where the purpose clause of a place is being violated, what you do is to regulate, ensure that the operators do the needful by obeying the laws establishing the place. This is what I had expected would apply in this instance. So if they say don't close by 10, close by 7, the question is, what is it that happens in these parks from 7 and to 10 that you'll be preventing by bringing the time down to? Because technically they didn't say shut down. They said bring down the hour of the closing from 10 to 7, right? So I have checked. I can't find activities that happen between 7 and 10 that cannot happen in those places, is 7 o'clock and below. So you can see that it's a policy that is not quite well thought out. And its implementation is bound to create much more problems for the Abuja government, the federal government, and so on and so forth. We need to get Abuja properly organized. So deal with the abuses. But do not create a problem worse by closing down the place or making the operation impossible, which in effect will still mean closing down the places. You are dislocating the economy. You are dislocating the social formation. You are taking away the solutions they are bringing to Abuja's social and economic life without providing any alternatives to them.
Okay, so now taking a cue from where you just landed, someone actually sent on social media saying that this policy is, I see this policy as inhumane and anti-people. And then he said that we are not in a military regime. We are practicing democracy for 21 years and still counting. So the government cannot just bring up a policy or a program and shove it down people's throats. So he's asking, are there laws backing this now? Because if you look at in Lagos, there are mostly no parks. So I think that the government is trying to stop the parks, and then I think what he's trying to say is that in Lagos there are no parks, and then he thinks that here they're trying to turn the parks to residential areas and then drive people away. What are your thoughts on it? Do you actually think that's
that's part of the abuses? I see where the writer is coming from. You see, if you go to some of the parks, you will actually see buildings, in which people live. It's wrong. In fact, the only provision in my studies of Abuja master plan and its master image, the only place that people can live in the parks is where you have the indigents. The Abuja master plan captures where indigents can actually be allowed to settle around such parks as part of maintaining their natural environment. They are considered to be part of the natural environment, but it shouldn't be extensive, and it's also sparingly allowed here and there. But this is not what the writer is referring to.
Okay.
The writer is drawing our attention to the abuse of these recreational areas where people actually live. And another thing the writer is also trying to bring out is that they want to drive people to convert the parks into residential areas. We have seen that happen. There are places that are ordinarily supposed to be greenery, they're supposed to be open spaces, and buildings are very serious, massive buildings are springing up in those places. You will see, water channels where, buildings are really springing up and causing heavy flooding.
And they just unfill them.
I live in local Goma, and we face major flooding every year. And there's a major flooding. We have experienced one or two this year, in my area. And you see the entire area flooded, and, the buildings, sacked and all that. And it has to do with unregulated building arrangement. So the Abuja master plan does not permit this kind of reckless building. And Abuja should not be compared to Lagos. You know why? You see, in 1976, when General Murtala Mohammed, conceived Abuja, he was the president, the head of state that conceived Abuja. They were trying to run away from the problem of planlessness of Lagos. They wanted a virgin land where there will be space to really plan a city. So we cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of Lagos. And then again, Lagos is a small place. Abuja is two times, almost 3 times the size of Lagos. If you extend it from this center to Abaji and to all the surrounding places. Abuja is actually, in terms of landmass, 2 to 3 times the size of Lagos. So we don't need to cluster buildings since we have the space.
Okay.
And if you really look at it, you discover that we are just dealing with the phase 1 of Abuja. Phase 2, a bit of it is beginning to be touched. You see all these massive flyovers being constructed now. Is to connect the phase 2 of Abuja and stuff like that. We have space. Phase 3 has not been scratched at all. Up to Abaji is Abuja. So you can see that we have space.
Okay.
We need to respect this master image. But in doing so, we should not create economic and social dislocation. We need to check the abuses. And once we do that, the aim will be achieved and the people will be happy and government will be good.
All right, so now let's come back to you, because I'm sure that a lot of people, so for the kind of people that actually like this policy, for the last, mostly women, married women, and then the housewives, they're the ones that said that, at least thank God my husband will come back home to me. There's no more the going out after from work to go and eat fish, and then probably some people will say at least it's just like a stopgap for work and then home. When you have quarrels at home, you just from work you want to go to the park to go and chill, and then probably lessen the burden on your head before going home. And then some people will still say, after all, they still carry the fish home. So for some women, the housewives, they're the ones that are enjoying this policy. So don't you think actually at least they have a good reason to complain or to be happy?
Annabelle, see, this life, like people normally say, is not complete. Because of your husband, you want diplomacies to die. You want people to go into stealing. You want people to go into so many bad things. And still that your husband, they are protecting. We still find a way, another avenue of doing whatever you think he's doing. It doesn't make sense. If you stop your husband from going to garden, he will find another way, another place to go to. You can't, if your husband is the outgoing type, you can't stop him. There's no way, you can't change him. He must go out. He must find a place to sit and chill. If you stop him from coming to garden, which is better, he will start going to hotel where he can relax in a bed with whatever. But it's true. So which one do you prefer? Where he will sit down and chill with his friends? They talk about politics. They talk about what is happening in the world.
Football.
They watch football. They laugh. they make friends. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. And you're chasing your husband to where he will now. My God, I don't know. You the woman, you the women. Do you sit down to imagine what will happen after this? Babe, let's go to hotel now. Barman, bring the drink inside my room. Which one do you prefer, you women? Is a question I'm asking you guys. To me, or for me, if you ask me, a no reasonable woman will say, close down the garden because of my husband. Your husband can even do more, worse than what you think he's doing in the garden. Because most people that come to garden don't come because of women. They come to chill with their friends. They debate, they talk about politics, they watch football.
Even strike business.
Yes, because see, me, I recharge DSTV 14,000 something every month just because of football. Whether you make it or you don't make it, I recharge because of football 14,600 thereabouts. It was 12,000 before, but now it is 14,000 something every blessed month just because of football. They come, chill, watch football, and most of them can bring out that kind of money to recharge their DSTV because of football. They come to gardens to watch. They meet friends. They meet businesses in garden. So what do you prefer? Which one do you not prefer? Your husband taking the side chick to hotel. That is, you are afraid of your husband is chilling with a girl in the garden, which most of the time they don't come with girls.
Okay. All right, now, so Dr. Law, now with all of this, now
Thank
do you actually...
you for defending the men.
Interesting.
She has made our case.
I'm sure some women would carry their nose and said, are you serious? All right, now,
You
so...
spoke the truth.
What is the truth?
And nothing but the truth.
All right, then. So now, I'm sure some people would actually say, okay, with this policy, how much will trying to gag these parks, how much does it actually means that they have to get more, or the monitoring team, they have to get more police, they have to get more of their monitoring teams. In fact, they have to build more prisons and then build more mobile courts, because now she's saying that some people are stubborn at it. You have night crawlers, they're not ready to stop.
You see, what the park operators do not have to wait for the implementation of this law. They need to engage the minister. He's a human being. Do you understand what I'm saying? They need to understand where the minister is coming from. What exactly is the problem that he wishes to solve using this policy? Do you understand that? You know, they should be able to convince the minister that the policy can be implemented, without this 7 o'clock, maximum time to run the parks. Because I want to believe that the minister doesn't want to inflict hardship. He has a responsibility of trying to keep Abuja in order. And from security perspective, I have also talked about the challenges we have faced. Or even last week, we had the Kuje prison break, unprecedented in annals of the nation's history. And they suspect that the over 600 of them still at large may be utilized in these parks. But it's not really a good way of looking at that problem, because the 7 to 10 o'clock will not really make them not to use the parks. If you close it down, it becomes even more habitable for criminals. Yes, because if you close by 7 or close it indefinitely, you cannot police all the parks in Abuja. So they make it their homes. So I don't think they need to really take that part at all. So rather than create jobs for the police, because that is what I see, the police will use the opportunity to harass people, extort money. The task force, headed by my former student, Ata, doing a fantastic job. And if you give him the order to go and close the parks by 7, he would. You saw his activities during the COVID-19. But again, like I said, there are better ways of getting this thing sorted out. They need to engage the task force. They need to engage the executives should engage the government now. Do you understand that? And if government becomes unreasonable and remains belligerent, they should go to court and compel the government to listen to an arm of government that they can listen to. If they cannot come to the table, even God said, "Come, let us reason together." If they cannot reason together with government, the court is there for all of us. And yes, I believe it's one thing they have to try out. But I don't advise that they start with the court. They should try to engage the minister. He's a reasonable, gentle, pristine gentleman. Engage the man. Engage him. Talk things over. Let's understand what he wants to achieve. Are there no other ways of achieving the same goal without closing at 7? Once you're able to really convince the minister that this is achievable without closing the parks, you must creatively work with him to help him achieve what he wants with the policy, and then you still operate in
Operate your own business.
And your economy is buoyant, and the social graces are not tampered with.
Okay.
By the policy.
Let's divert a little bit and talk about, you talked about the recent Kuje jailbreak, and then we saw that a few days ago, NSCDC, some people say it's actually leaked press release saying that people should, if you were careful, security conscious, you should double your efforts in being security conscious, especially areas like Gwagwalada, Kubwa, Kuje, and Buari, that they should be at alert, because those that left the Kuje prison, that they might decide to come and attack people, probably the markets, the recreation centers, and the parks and religious centers. So now, with that kind of message, sending that kind of message, what exactly are they trying to, is it that they are trying to tell people to be security conscious or be afraid? Because I know that you are a security and intelligence expert. So what was your read on that letter?
As a social psychologist, I can tell you that the warning, even if government did not issue it, we ought to know that Kuje is part of us here, and 600 inmates, some are waiting trial, some convicted criminals, amongst them murderers, amongst them you find armed robbers, amongst them you find convicted terrorists, over 60, convicted, Boko Haram and the ISIS terrorists, kept in Kuje and none at large. Do you understand that? Yeah, so, but I personally wouldn't want to believe that the terrorists are still at large. The terrorists have gone with their colleagues that came to rescue them. This is the simple truth. The so-called jailbreak was not for fun. It was orchestrated by the terrorists themselves. They came for their own and they went with them. So they should be with them. They are not at large. However, that is not to say that they are not still planning, because they haven't released the Kaduna train victims. Only 7 were released 2 or 3 days after the Kuje. They still kept the rest. In other words, they still have an axe to grind with the federal government. And because the federal government is domiciled here in Abuja, it has to be a cause for concern. Since they have set their sight on Abuja, on the seat of power of the country, there is a big problem. And naturally, if you understand how terrorism operates, they go for the soft targets. So they will be looking for where you have, heavy human concentration that is less defended. They will look for church. When you're going to a church, even if you're a juju man, you don't want to carry juju to church. Talk less going to church with machete, with your guns and stuff. You just go to church. Broken, you want to pray, supplication, you want spiritual fulfillment and all that. So the church is undefended. The mosque is undefended. Schools are vulnerable. Markets, very, very vulnerable. Then, of course, parks. I agree. Parks are also, they have a human habitation and stuff like that. if they fear that these criminals that are at large may be targeting the parks, you get the point. You know, it's not only the parks that they are targeting. I've just listed where they naturally would target and have targeted in the past. So the parks cannot be isolated from all this. Then you ask yourself, what is the federal government, you know, the Nigeria Police Force FCT command doing to defend these places I have mentioned? I go to church, I don't see police presence. The security in my church is provided for by my church itself. MOD people, men and order and discipline, you know, which is like it's a Catholic church security arrangement. But they are not armed. They can only, you know, maybe raise an alarm. There is nothing they can do. There is no effort. I've not seen any effort to secure the churches, to secure the mosques, to secure the markets. I haven't seen any. So why the parks? And in fact, the parks are even less at risk. And again, if you fear that they will attack the parks, and this is one of the reasons you are coming up with this obnoxious policy, you know, are you now saying that they can't attack the parks before 7 o'clock? You can't say that. So it's still illogical bringing that as the real compelling reason why they are bringing up the policy, which of course I have described it as obnoxious. An obnoxious policy or law is a law that is anti-people. It does not, it solves, you know, it creates more problems than it solves. And this one, I see no problem that is solving at all. I fail to see.
All right, even as our time is fast spent, we'd like to get your last word, especially to the government on this as being a park operator. What are your last words, very quickly?
I thank you. My sister, you see this country and this nation where we are now, they should consider the masses. They should consider the cry of the masses. Everybody is crying. They should not flog us the more. They should not be hard on us. They should please and please help us, because this policy is going to affect the masses in Abuja. Thank you.
All right then. So thank you so much for your time with us, Dr. Mefor and Uchenna Ibeto. It's been a very wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, that's our package for the show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have been chatting with Dr. Mefor, a media consultant, and we have also been chatting with Uchenna Ibeto, who is a park operator. And it's been a wonderful time. I'm sure you must have been rightly educated, entertained, and informed. I'll definitely see you again next time. Keep watching The Conversation, because you never know who my next guest will be and what my next topic will be all about. I'll see you again next time. From the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless Nigeria.